So today we are here at Buckenhof in Wellington, which is based in the Western Cape, ideally located in the winelands of Cape Town. Beautiful venue. And we are doing a style shoot just to make reference to the trends and introduce some of our amazing suppliers that we work with often. And so in the background you'll see some beautiful models, some beautiful florals done by Quick Studio, and a bit of our expert Monique, who's doing some of the styling today. And the reason why we're sitting here today and doing a little bit of conversation with our brides is just to connect with you and give you some feedback as to how involved we get with your day, with the planning, and then also a little bit about the decor and the do's and don'ts and how we can assist you.
So I think that the first step in the decor process, especially with trunk events, we'll probably start about 4 to 6 months before your actual wedding, and the time limit on that is just because so many trends, styles, colors change throughout the time, and a lot of our brides we found have changed their minds closer to the time. So the first step would be we send out our questionnaire, which is aimed at our brides with their colors and their flower choices, and the more pictures the better, so that they can see, we could see actually what they like.
Yeah, I agree. We promote the planning of your wedding. Definitely decor is very relative and important to our couples, but there's so much more involved around the initial stage of planning. So we normally say a good time to book a planner and your venue and your destination wedding or your local wedding is a year in advance. The first 6 months we structure your wedding around the date, all the suppliers that make your day memorable, photo, hair, makeup, the chefs and all of that. And then the second phase of our wedding planning, which is about 4 to 6 month period, is based on the decor.
I think that the number one thing we should say as well is that the color palette doesn't need to match the bridesmaids' dresses, but just to have a general color in mind. Doesn't need to be one color in specific, but just sort of like a color palette that we can work with, and then we'll base either the napkins or the cutlery or the flowers and all of that throughout the whole wedding, and it ties everything together very nicely.
Yeah, I agree. And also just for our couples to realize that your wedding theme and color palette can change. You can start off with designing your invitations and come up with a very neutral theme, and then you can incorporate a pop of color or a trend much later down the line, which I think works really well because fashion it changes all the time, and weddings so connected to trends and fashion. And the other little tip I would say is you don't have to match your bridesmaids' dresses to the tablecloths or the napkins. You can totally just play around with color.
Yeah. So the stationery for a wedding definitely ties into the decor, especially if you use it throughout your whole, from your wedding invitation or your save your dates to your menus, to your name cards, to your seating plan, and it can definitely bring in the color palette or even the main flower on your table, and it definitely adds character to the wedding decor and your wedding table.
I agree. And we are playing around today with trends and what's sort of fashionable right now, and the stationery was designed and incorporated around a mood board which Monique and Zeni of Quick Studio put together, and Hayley of Invitation Cafe looked at the brief and added her own input, and the two match, but the one, they pop, so they need to tell a story, but it doesn't all have to match. I mean, mix and match is really trendy right now.
And I think that's very important, is you don't need to have the exact same color throughout the whole entire wedding. You can play around with different shades, or even something that's completely opposite but still works very well within the same color palettes.
So as your wedding planners at Trunk Events, we have a beautiful team of experts involved in the planning, the coordination, and the decor and styling, which we really get involved in. We like to get involved with that, and we'll touch on the points as to why you need a planner and the difference around it and how involved we get, but we have to get involved no matter what, because we need to brief the venue. We need to wait for you to give us your final numbers so that we can come up with floor plans, and the floor plan is very much indicative of how much money you're going to spend, whether you have 15 tables or whether you have 20 tables. And Monique draws up floor plans for our brides, and it's very important that we get involved with the overall picture, with the loading times, with booking suppliers,
I think it's also important that you know your venue, not just during the day when you're doing your site visit, but at nighttime, which many venues we know, because of the lighting factor. A lot of people don't understand that certain venues need a little bit of uplifting with their lights, whether it just be a park can mood light on the side or a canopy of fairy lights. It definitely does play a factor when picking your venue and your decor to know how the venue is not during the day, but also at night.
And as your wedding planners, we get very involved with briefing you in advance. Once you've chosen your own venue, we will ask you all sorts of questions which are very related around floor plans, logistics, setup time, breakdown time. Does the venue have another wedding the next day? When can we set up? Who the suppliers are if you've booked it yourself. So yeah, it's very much part of the package that we offer, and we love to get involved.